So the housing minister, Gregor Robertson, just came out and said that the average home price must fall in Canada to restore affordability. And I'm so happy again that he's coming out and he's being honest. Prices have to come down. We know that. But it's when you read further into what he said, it doesn't make a lot of sense. This is what he said. He's saying that the average price needs to come down, but not necessarily that individual home prices will fall, because the government wants to build more or lower cost homes, things like modular units, smaller builds, apartments, the yurts, so that new cheaper homes bring the average price down statistically without crashing existing home values. Now, I don't really understand how this can work, because he's saying we want to bring in cheaper housing without dropping, let's say, the top end of housing to come down, like the detached properties that are worth millions of dollars. But again, if overall home price need to come down, then all prices need to come down. That's the only way that all average prices come down. I think he's trying to play politically at the people that own multi-million-dollar properties, the older people that, let's say, voted for his particular party, while also trying to cater to the people that want cheaper housing. It's, again, if the problem is expensive housing, then all housing prices need to come down. It's not like you can pick and choose what you'd like to happen. Prices don't move in isolation, right? If you flood the market with a ton of cheaper homes, that's actually going to affect the rest of the market eventually, and it always does. Housing is truly like a ladder. Condos affect townhomes, affect semis, affect detached properties. You can't just pull one end of the ladder without shifting everything else. Now, there's a lot of interesting comments on this. A lot of people are basically saying, wait, how can average prices fall without home prices actually going down? That's exactly what I thought too. Others explain that it's possible if you build a ton of smaller, cheaper homes. If you have a few $1 million homes and suddenly add hundreds of $400,000 homes, technically the average goes down even if those $1 million homes don't move much in price. That's how averages work. Now, that's the math on paper, but the real world doesn't operate in a vacuum exactly like this. If you actually increase supply in a meaningful way, especially in places like Toronto and Vancouver, the most expensive markets in Canada, you're going to impact the resale market too. Buyers will have more options. Competition will soften, and the prices will, of course, have to adjust naturally. Maybe not overnight, but over time they will. Another thing that people pointed out was that these new homes that Gregor Robertson is talking about, modular, smaller, cheaper materials, these things will probably be built outside of major cities where land is cheaper. So that's going to bring the average down, but it doesn't solve the core issue that we see for people who actually need housing in places where the jobs are, right? Where civilization is, right? Like Toronto, Vancouver, where the problem really is. And that's the other layer here. The problem isn't just home prices. It's the combination of immigration, local zoning rules, the lack of infrastructure we see, and the government interference and trying to control every level of housing. Every time demand cools, let's say more naturally, the government steps in with incentives or programs that just are eventually going to push prices back, right? And it's so obvious that the government wants to keep home prices elevated or keep them going higher. It's in their best interest, even though they're not saying it. It's in their best interest. You can't say we want affordability while also doing everything possible to protect homeowners' equity at the very top, who are also people that vote for you, right? You have to have one or the other, right? And it's so obvious that the housing minister is trying to play both sides. He's trying to play the political game instead of just choosing the side that is actually going to fix the problem or has a better chance of fixing the problem, because we really don't know what will fix the problem at the end of the day. And this is where I think people like me and a lot of Canadians are just frustrated, because there's this constant political dance, right? One side says we're building affordable housing, and then it's often rentals or micro units that don't solve the ownership gap that we have, right? The other side just criticizes, but doesn't have a real plan at all. Meanwhile, the regular people are sitting here trying to figure out how they're ever going to buy a home, raise a family, or stay in the city that they actually work in and they want to live. Well, I actually agree that average home prices should come down, but not through a manipulated tactic he's proposing. That they should really come down naturally, right? Trying to control a market like this is not possible. It has to be through supply and demand, just natural market forces. That only happens if we stop artificially stimulating the market with these different things. Less government meddling, right, in housing. Does government really think that they can build more housing than the people who know how to build housing, right? Or the people that know how this stuff works? We need fewer of these band-aid solutions that are most likely just going to waste taxpayer money. More focus on real housing starts where people actually live and work. But the reality is no politician wants to be the one that causes home prices to drop. That's why he's playing both sides, because it's not politically favorable for him to actually just speak the truth, if that makes sense. So instead we get statements like this that, to me, it's just like they make zero sense whatsoever, and they're worded so carefully to play at both sides to gain, let's say, future votes. Affordability doesn't return because of something the housing minister says. It returns when people that can buy a home on an average income actually do it, right? And right now we're nowhere close to that. We're so far away from that. So I'll believe it when I see it. I just don't think it's possible. It's mostly just talk. We'll see what actually happens at the end of the day. Let me know what you guys think about this.